This podcast episode may contain explicit material. Listener-viewer discretion is advised. The intention is not to offend, but to provide information. Proceed only if you are comfortable with potentially sensitive content.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Behind the Scenes with Sheriff Jason Ard. I'm Jason Ard. We started this podcast to educate everyone on the role of the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office. We're about serving and protecting our community. On this podcast, we will tackle lots of topics. Well, it's that time of year. Summer's here, and on today's podcast, we'll be talking about waterways in Livingston Parish. And I am very excited to have the two guests I have with me today. Lieutenant Ronnie Sharp. I can't believe that he's here, but he's here. So thanks for being here, Ronnie. And as well as Sergeant Randy Lanoux with the Wildlife and Fisheries. Thank you, Randy, for being a guest here today. Ronnie, give me a little bit of your background. You started the Sheriff's Office how many years ago? I know you and I have worked the streets together a long time ago.
Yes, sir, around 96.
96?
On the street with the Sheriff's Office when I left Springfield.
That's right. Springfield's where you worked. Actually, police chief in Springfield for a little while.
Yes, sir.
I don't know what they were thinking. That must have been an appointed position.
Well, yeah, it was. So I didn't know what they were thinking either.
Yeah. Okay, and so the Sheriff's Office in 96, and I know you've been on the water your whole life, but for the Sheriff's Office, how long have you been on?
About the last 12 years on the water.
12 years?
Yes, sir.
Man, it's a long time. Yeah, Randy, Wildlife and Fishery, how long have you been with them? I've known you a long time, too.
Yes, sir, absolutely. I've been with Wildlife Fisheries going on 19 years now. I've been in law enforcement a total of 44 years.
Where did you start your career?
I started my career in 1981, Department of Corrections.
Okay.
I left there. I did 16 years there, did 10 years with Ascension Sheriff's Department. I actually started on the water at Ascension Sheriff's Department, working for the Sheriff's Department.
We can't be giving Jeff Wiley or Bobby Weber any credit on this.
You're
okay?
right. No, absolutely.
No, they great guys. They're a great Sheriff's Department. I couldn't ask for a better neighbor with them guys. Yes, and Bobby's doing great, and Jeff was still is a great friend. Yeah. He's actually one of our state reps now.
That's right. I started out there in 2000. Oh, I'm sorry, 1999. So I've been on the water 24, 25 years, I think now, total on this waterway
99 is when I actually left investigations and went to detectives. So,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, left investigation. You don't leave investigation, go to detective. I left investigation, went to the training center. That's what I did.
That's right.
All right. So, look, we're talking about the waterways. I know you guys stay just y'all stay wide open during the summertime. I see it. I'm very fortunate and blessed to live on the water, and whenever I get out, I mean, it's a weekend thing, really. It really is. But a lot of folks out there listening do not realize that's kind of like every weekend you guys are out there, like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that's not just the big weekends, the holiday weekend. It's every weekend starting probably April. As soon as that weather gets a little warm, the boats hit the water. Yes. So I know y'all deal with a lot of problems and a lot of issues. We're going to get into that. But one of the things that I just kind of wanted to start off with is during this time of year, probably one of the biggest things that and I'm going off of my experience of listening to Ronnie and different ones of issues that you guys run across. But one of the biggest issues is probably just vessels that have these owners and people that aren't familiar with them at all.
Yes.
Running out of gas, just pulling it out of the shed after the whole year, not doing any kind of maintenance or anything, and they're broke down, not taking into consideration, I guess, the winter hard freezes and things of that nature. Randy, you want to talk about a little bit of some of the stuff that y'all?
Yeah, a lot of people, when they put their boats up for summertime in the fall, they don't winterize their boats and stuff like that, and so when they take them out, they've been sitting up for 3 or 4 months. So they think they should operate the same way when they put them up, and that's not always the case. Yeah. And what you find is people come out and their boats start breaking down because they didn't take proper maintenance before they put them up for the winter. And we get a lot, especially in the first part of summertime, you get a lot of broke down vessels. And of course, Livingston is helps a tremendous amount in recovering, helping us go out and get those vessels. And I mean, it's almost a daily routine. I mean, it's almost just about every day you got somebody broke down.
It's not just a weekend thing.
No, look, I was just going to say, I know that I called Ronnie a pretty good bit, and I said, Ronnie, what are we towing that boat for? Why aren't you towing the boat? Oh, they ran out of gas. They broke down, and I don't think I've ever really been out much without seeing us towing a boat, which we don't like to do because it really is hard on our vessels and our engines and equipment. But sometimes we don't have a choice. At least we got to get them to some kind of safety area.
Now with the amount of traffic that's down there, you got to have at least 50 foot of rope out, and people running through your rope and all that's a major issue.
Well, there's a lot of issues on the water. However, we don't want to shy away from the fact that it's also an awesome opportunity, beautiful to be on the water. I don't know if a lot of people know. I say this quite a bit, and I know I'm right on this, but I could be proven wrong one day. But I'm pretty sure that Livingston Parish has more navigable waterways than any other parish in the state of Louisiana, which brings a lot of boat traffic. Yeah. And it's not just Livingston Parish folks here either. Right. It's when you have Ascension, who actually shares a waterway with us, and then you have St. John, you have Tangipahoa Parish, Baton Rouge, just to our west, brings a lot of boats here. And, of course, what we call the water life, and you have the bars and the food on the river, the drinks on the river. It's a lot. It gets into what I call a lot of responsibility for us and keeps you guys really busy. One of the things that another thing that I would like for people to know, because I get a lot of these questions, is our kids. We have a lot of kids that enjoy the river. I see them on the jet skis, and I see them in boats and things. And you guys both, all agencies involved here, have done a great job promoting Life Vest. Yes, sir. And pushing that with the kids. I think you guys still give them. I say you guys, Wild and Fisher. Y'all still give them, Randy, a T-shirt or something if you catch a kid with a life vest on. Got
caught wearing your life jacket.
Yes.
So it's a promotional deal.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And look, I think that's a great thing. Ronnie came to me and wanted to do the same thing, and I told him I didn't want to steal y'all's thunder because I'd have to try to do it as best I could. But I don't. It's a really good thing to see that. What is the actual age that a child's supposed to have? The life vest on.
Anybody under any child under 17 on a vessel that's 26 feet or less has to wear a life jacket while the vessel's underway, and that's any vessel. And whether it's a jet ski, or of course on jet skis everybody has to wear one, but any vessel under 26 feet, it's mandatory that they have to wear them.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize that, so I just want to make sure we put that out there.
Another thing too is I actually run into this weekend is you got to make sure it's a proper fitting life jacket. I mean, I stopped a vessel this weekend that they had an adult size on a really small kid. What people don't realize about that, so they're wearing a PFD, but if that child ends up in the water, their arms float up, and that life jacket will come off of them. Mm-hmm. It'll come off, so it has to be a proper fitting life jacket.
Yeah. And that's I think that goes back to just hurrying up. Let's go last minute, take a little boat ride. Child wants to go. We don't really have a life jacket. This one will work. In reality, that's how accidents happen. Exactly. We have to take those precautions to make sure we do that the right way.
Yes, sir.
So as the boating season ramps up, I know we have a lot of events on the water that catches the attention of folks that are not really what I call your average boater.
Right.
And it brings a lot of people to the water that don't normally go there until that. So the Tickfaw 200 is probably the biggest event we have.
Yes.
What did you think the boats are, Ronnie, that come out there?
And
these are boats are not just from the areas I mentioned earlier. These are boats from all over the state. And some, I think Canada came one year.
Alaska.
Well, they don't know where to ride a boat in Alaska. It's so cold up there.
They got to go somewhere else. But it's back in the day when the Tickfaw 200 even started. I think it consisted of 10 boats, and just went from there. Of course, we had biggest boat around was a skiff, a 20-foot skiff with 50 on it. Now you got boats that's 50-something foot long with 4 or 5 motors, and
what do you think that the number is at now with Tickfaw 200?
I'm gonna say 400 plus boats.
That's a lot of boats. That's just on top of our every day, every weekend, especially on a Saturday, the boat traffic we have.
Yes, sir.
I don't get on the boat at all during that time.
Yeah.
I don't even want to be on the water. There's so many boats, and these are huge boats. I remember seeing the official, like the Coca-Cola, a guy that's a air from Coca-Cola has a Coca-Cola boat out. And I think one year we had the Bud Light and Budweiser racing boats.
And these guys can drive these boats. They responsible for the boats. If you're driving a boat that expensive, you know your stuff.
Well, yeah, they bring mechanics with them and captains and all kind of stuff. Yeah, they got it going on. And look, it's great for our parish because I think the average boat, I was told a couple of years ago, just asking around, I think that the average boat spends about $10,000 in fuel on a weekend.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
so that's great for the government here to be able to get that tax money. So it's definitely a good event, and we have a lot of other events. I know our fire department has one.
The Farmers Poker Run.
Brian Drury, District 2, took me a minute, has a poker run. And what other events do we have out on that river?
This weekend we got the TARC event coming up.
Yeah, the TARC.
Homemade boat race and all that
stuff.
The
homemade boat race. Yeah. That's always fun to watch.
And at the same time, on the diversion side, A-Meet, we have the A-Meet 100 coming up this weekend.
There's pretty much not a weekend from now till September that there's not some type of poker run or event going on out there. I mean, there's a lot of, and one of the things you touched on, and I'd like to say, I mean, this waterway system, Maupaw, is well known, not just in the state, but throughout the nation. A lot of people come here, especially that Tickfaw 200, come from other states. I mean, it's a very well-known event. It's actually the kickoff for these guys run a circuit, a poker run circuit, these big guys. I want to call them big guys, the big boats.
Yeah.
And this is the kickoff. And this waterway system, it's a very big tourist attraction, our waterway system for this area. It does bring a lot of money into the parish. The various parishes.
Yeah.
Yes, when back in the day with housing.
Yeah.
Now we got Airbnbs and everything else that we didn't have. Used to be camps. Now it's all people live there. So it ain't nothing to get on a Wednesday and go, hey, we going for a ride.
Yeah. Like it is easy to get you a Airbnb now, and they have boats there to rent the boats, and sometimes that could be very dangerous. But But at the same time, hopefully people are taking their precautions. So I want to make sure that sometimes us fellas from just the South Louisiana, we all know what a poker run is, but some people have no idea what a poker run is. One of y'all want to take that bull by the horns and explain what an actual poker run is, Ronnie?
Yeah, it's a benefit, usually for St. Jude or some organization, but you go from place to place.
And they use designated areas that they have.
Designated areas. They have designated places that are assigned, and you go there, spend a little money, get you a card, or pay for a card, or however you want to do it. And at the end of the day, everybody meets back up at one general location to where it's like a poker run draw. They post your cards on the board. So
you basically play in poker.
Yes.
And you're getting a card at each stop, and then there's usually the designated area at the end that we actually get to put the hands on the wall, whatever.
Right.
So I don't even get cards anymore if I sign up for one because I never win. So
I don't win that.
Yeah. But anyway, so getting on into the boating season as these events ramp up, and one of the other things is that we have to deal with a lot, obviously, is the crashes, and we have drownings, unfortunately, and a lot of that goes back to some of the stuff we've talked about, but we also are not going to ignore the fact that a lot of it has to do with the alcohol. Yeah. Drinking and operating a boat. It's just not safe, and you guys have done a tremendous job over the years. And I wanted to get into some of the stats I had because I just think it's tremendous of what y'all have done, and a lot of people don't realize the work you do on the water. Sometimes they go, "Oh, they just trying to run my fun
weekend."
But it's not. I mean, we're out there trying to do what we do to make the water safe. We want everybody to have fun. There's like a ton of kids on skis, on twos behind boats. I mean, it's a big family oriented thing there, and so and it's just something that you have to be cautious of. And but just going back on the stats that I looked up, and you guys are boots on the ground, or you say fins in the water, however you want to put it. But I mean, just like in 2000, we had 16 fatalities, and y'all were riding 8 to 10 DWIs a week. That's in 2000. So fast forward, fatalities have dropped to around 11 I have here in 2022, and then by 2024, we're down to like 3, and I think your DWI arrests are down a little bit too,
yes, sir.
compared to what it was back in 2000. That's just from being a little aggressive that you have to be in enforcing that. And a lot of that is and look, I know all the agencies are involved that we mentioned earlier, but Randy, I'd like you to talk on a little bit on that, on the fatalities we have to work, the drownings. And
when I started out there, like I said, in 1999, and I took over the water patrol as a supervisor in Ascension in 2000. That was my worst year. I mean, that was a learning experience. Like you said, we had 16 fatalities in 6 weeks. I mean, that's a lot. When you look at, when you look at a 12-month period, you look at a roadway or something, okay, maybe that's not too bad. But when you narrow that down to 6 weeks in the waterway system we have, that's bad numbers. That we have to, and that's kind of the year that it all clicked with everybody that we have to do something about this.
yes,
And we all came together as a group, all the agencies, and we started cracking down. And it's a combination of things. It's a combination of education, educating the public. Absolutely have to educate them, and enforcement. We had that. We developed that zero tolerance policy, mentality, and as the enforcement grew and the stricter we got, the fatalities drops. We had a couple of years in there that we didn't have no fatalities over the years. We had zero fatalities and even zero drownings. The public became more aware through education and enforcement, and it's made a difference. I'm a firm believer that we made a difference out there. If we wouldn't have done what we started doing back then collectively, then we wouldn't be where we are today. I mean, there's some things you can't prevent it all. There's no way that you can stop it all.
right.
But there's things that we can do to curtail a lot of it, and I think we've been successful at doing that as the three departments. All of us together, especially the working relationship we have with y'all.
Yeah.
I think we've been successful. I mean, when it comes to impaired driving, I mean, it's bad enough when you do it in a car, but you have to realize in a boat, you're even more susceptible to your reaction times. And you get distracted. Distracted driving is even worse in a boat because if you're impaired, and the water, the sun, all these kind of different things enhance the alcohol effects on you. So you have to, keep that at a minimum.
One of and when you talk about your reaction time, I just pops in my head about some of the incidents that we've worked on the water.
Yes, sir.
And at nighttime, it's even worse.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
absolutely.
There's people that know how to manipulate that waterway with a vessel, and there's those that do not.
Correct.
And so, I've been out there, and I've, very wee hours. I know you guys have, and the simple things. A lot of people don't understand how you follow tree lines.
Right. Right.
Because sometimes that's the only thing you can see.
That's correct.
That's how dark it gets on that water.
Yes.
And it's and I don't think people that are, well, obviously they're not familiar with that, and they get out there, and then next thing you know, you have a boat pulls out with maybe didn't put their lights on because it's late at night. We've had these incidents.
Oh yeah.
And you can't even see, you could barely see the tree line and what's in front of you, and then next thing there's a tremendous accident.
Yes.
And a lot of things too is y'all started enforcing some of it last year. Is they putting these big white lights on these boats and party barges and stuff and using them as headlights.
Right.
Well, the oncoming you can see, but the oncoming boat can't see.
I'm glad y'all enforcing that.
Yeah.
I got on somebody not long ago. It was last year about that. They blinded. You couldn't even see what you were doing.
Right.
And that's what it takes.
I wasn't on duty, by the way. I was just trying to get on. I couldn't say the lights were so bright you couldn't see what you're doing.
Those big LED lights, they take the other driver's night vision away.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand, and they don't know, is that the law says, and the law is very clear on this. You have to have the red and green navigation light has to be clearly unobstructed in front of the boat. Well, those LED lights, and people will argue, well, you can see it's a light. Yeah, I understand. I see a white light, but I don't know what side of the boat I'm on. The red and the green tells you what side of the boat. If I'm looking at red and green, I know I'm looking at you straight at your bow. On the red side, I'm on this side. On the green, I'm on this side. So that's the purpose of the red and green, and nothing can obstruct that. And those LED lights take that person's that you're looking at, it takes their night vision away. Mm-hmm. So not only, they might see you, but they might not see this tree that's over here because of that.
I was just thinking that the stumps, there's so many stumps right on the edge of that water.
Yes,
that it's so easy to hit it. And we've worked accidents where people have hit it because they couldn't see where they were going.
Absolutely.
Nowadays they put all them lights. They got all kind of different colors on the boat.
Oh, yeah. They look like Christmas trees.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So just so the kids don't get upset with us, they're okay to still look at the frogs and the alligators.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just don't put it in front of the boat. But you still, we like you to enjoy the waterway and still look at that. And speaking of incidents, one that comes to mind is one that we worked. I think it was it not this past summer, but summer before last. I think we had a party barge that was around Kings Point on Tickfaw River.
Yes.
And we had a center console boat driving. I don't know, we talk about these incidents, and it's just, I just remember it was a lot of people on both boats. Yeah, right. And this was like at midnight, wasn't it?
It was just after midnight.
And these two boats collided. No rhyme or reason. We're not getting into that, but it was an accident, and it was just a bunch of people in the water. It was pretty dramatic. And Ronnie and I was talking about it this morning, but and sometimes you don't realize what you guys do. And I had a couple of road deputies that were in the area, heard the call, went to Boopaloo's, I believe it was, and which is the little bar restaurant right there under the bridge, and basically started asking for help on somebody get them on a boat because they had a pretty serious wreck they're trying to get to. Was able to get there fast enough where these guys were bailing off in their uniforms, trying to get these people out of the water. And I think you guys were able to get there a short time later. Sometimes you're not readily available because y'all have to launch your boat sometimes, or even if we have one in the lift, you still have to get there. And those guys did a tremendous job by being in the area, recognizing. That doesn't surprise me at all, and especially in our parish. And I'm just speaking for Livingston. There's so many people that always want to help you.
Oh yeah.
But that was a pretty heavy incident, just because it was so. I don't remember how many, but they said it was like dozens of people in the water.
Oh, it was chaos.
Or over a dozen people in the water.
It was a total of 13 people involved, and the bigger boat, the center console, overturned, and there was. If I remember correctly, there was 5 passengers on it, and all of them got ejected into the water. And then there was the remainder of passengers were on the party board, and it was heavy. It was a high speed crash with heavy damage. And when we arrived, 2 of y'all's deputies had already. I didn't realize that's who they were.
I didn't know
we
they
got
was there either.
And because they had done stripped out of uniforms, and one of your deputies was on the keel of the overturned boat, holding one of the victims up out of the water to keep, because if he wouldn't have held her up, she'd have drowned. She was injured very badly. And then of course Ronnie, when we got there, he got out on the boat and went over there and grabbed the girl. And I went over to the party barge that had people pinned underneath some wreckage and stuff.
I think the hardest part was you couldn't see nothing.
You couldn't see anything.
That night, it was dark.
Yeah, and we were the first law enforcement boat on scene as far as boat wise.
Right.
And it was just in my career in 25 years, that was one of the most stressful accidents because we were so secluded.
Yes.
And now we got all of these hurt people. We ended up with two people were dead. Mm-hmm. One was missing. One we confirmed. One of my agents and had pulled one out from underneath the boat and was doing CPR. Unfortunately, she passed away. But we got all these hurt people. How are we going to get them in?
Right.
And so now we got to bring them from here, which we're a significant distance from anywhere, so where we can get a helicopter, an ambulance, or anything. So we got to get all these people in, and that, of course, that comes first. Mm-hmm. You know, we got to take care of the injured people, and then we'll worry about the crash later.
Right.
But that was one of the most stressful accidents that I responded to in my 25 years because it's just. And the thing about these accidents is when it happens in Lake Maurepas or something like that, people don't realize it takes us time to, like you said, at night. We may not be any of us may not be on duty, so we have to respond.
Right.
And then we got to get from here, then we got to get you back.
Right.
All this takes time, you know, and there's no easy way to get a person with a broken back or a broken neck in a boat back to a landing. There's no easy way to do it.
Yeah.
You know, Ronnie will agree with that.
Yeah, and I think Randy, it was kind of chaotic down there because we, as law enforcement, it's control. Okay, we like to see control over things. And that night, Randy was, I think, losing his mind because his guys was in the water, we was in the water. It was just he couldn't keep up with everybody.
Looking, it's just it's very challenging for you too to keep yourself together. And like you said, you drive up, you know what you got, and all of a sudden you realize, well, there's deputies actually in the water. I didn't even know there's deputies in the water.
Actually, when I took the patient, it didn't register that he was even. Yeah, that it was one of our guys.
Yeah. Well, I think I know this. It's because you get total focus.
Yeah,
you know that there's a job needs to be done. You know that there's victims in the water, and you said earlier that they have to be taken care of. And how do I get them out of here? And then you stress because you can't just throw them on. Some of them just can't be thrown on a boat and hauled out of there because of their injuries.
Right.
So and then and my hat's off. I know Brian Drury don't like me bragging on him, but. And I don't like bragging on him either, by the way. But Brian and District 2 have done a great job of the equipment they have and the ability to respond. But still, they have to respond, like you said earlier. And when you on the water, that's just different.
It's different.
It's just not like they own a roadway right around the corner. Right. And we've came a long ways with equipment to be able to respond to those things. But there's so many different incidents. That had happened, and Ronnie, you said something earlier about the incident y'all worked with carbon dioxide.
Yeah,
something that
several years back we had a boat sitting at prop stop and the idle zone anchored out, and they left the motor running. Well, they put their young one was less than a year old on the fantail to splash in the water with the motor running, and it don't work out very well. So
yeah, it's just a
good
little
thing
things but yeah. That could have been a really bad situation and obviously a learning point for everybody. That's probably one of the first incidents like that y'all worked.
Yeah, well, we had, Randy, another sailboat.
Yeah, guy with a sailboat.
Possibly a sailboat to fall off. Yeah. Just good thing we had some people with
carbon dioxide, same thing?
The guy was riding on the back of the sailboat, and it had the little engine running in the sailboat, and his girlfriend was driving, and he was sitting by the exhaust, and he succumbed to the exhaust fumes. Mm-hmm. Thank God there was some people skiing that were actually nurses and paramedics that saw when it happened, and he slid off in the water. And they grabbed him and were able to revive him before we got there. So people don't think about they don't realize, especially in these cabin style boats and these big go fast boats. They have they're equipped with blowers and things like that, and
for that
reason. And you can't sit by those exhaust fumes. It's not like an outboard.
We had the one at Leisure Landing that blew up because it wasn't vented properly.
Yeah, that boat actually blew up and burnt a boat really, really bad.
Yeah, we had what was the wreck last year? We had something that was around midnight. Is that the same one that we had just talked about?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that was actually last year. It wasn't 2 years ago.
Yes, sir.
That was last year.
That was last year.
And we also had an incident with someone run over under a pier.
Yes, it was the LSU student.
LSU student.
It was a student.
I think she was.
Yeah,
I think
it was the
Cheerleader,
the cheerleader coach at LSU.
Yeah.
That happened. Now that was several years ago. That was directly related to impairment. The guy that was driving was impaired.
Yeah,
and he just eventually he was running down the river, not paying attention, and just drifted over and ran up underneath the pier, and there was several injuries in there. There was the little boy on the boat. He suffered a bad growth plate injury. They had to do several surgeries, but the cheerleader, the cheerleader coach, he's to this day he's still in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
You know, that was
life changing.
Oh, absolutely, yes,
life changing.
Takes 1 second.
Kind of what I tell people. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Kind of what I tell people. The thing about a boat crash, of course, car crashes are bad too, but you don't have seatbelts. You have none of that in a boat. There's going to be 3 impacts. When a boat, whatever your boat hits, then whatever you hit, your body's going to hit something in that boat.
Yeah.
When it's a high speed crash, there's nothing there to protect you.
Right.
There's no car cage. There's none of that's there. If you hit a tree, your body's probably going to hit that tree, or you're going to hit something in that
within
boat,
that
vessel. So the injuries, and then there's always this big. I call it this. Lack of a better term, I call it this big meat grinder sitting back there that's not going to stop for nothing till it runs out of gas. And you see a lot of prop injuries and stuff like that in these wrecks. Mm-hmm. People get thrown out, these boats get loose, and they'll get loose, and we call it, they get in these spins and stuff like that. And look, a prop is unforgiving.
Oh, yeah.
And when you get hit by a prop, that's a life-altering injury.
Right.
There's going to be, it's bad. It gets as bad as it gets.
Brings me to the Lafayette SWAT guy.
That was a bad one.
That was on the sandbar and got backed over by a twin-engine boat.
Yeah. We've had so many of those incidents. And we had when you were talking about the speed and what you hit, there's only been one incident that I know of that people survived. That obviously God had a plan for them, and that was the boat that was doing over 80-something miles an hour that went through the woods and had like walked away with scratches, maybe a broken leg. And it was just I seen it. It was on its side, and it just kind of like it went through the trees and just never really hit it and just slowed it down.
Well, and we even thought about it afterwards. We don't have the tools for it because you sit down in those boats, you're like in a unclosed capsule, just the top open. The way that boat went in, if it would have literally fell over on top of them and trapped them all in there, we still trying to figure out what we would have done to be able to try to get those people out.
Yeah, it would be difficult once those vessels flip over because they're heavy.
Yes,
very much.
And they're designed to be the other way, not upside down.
Right.
Exactly.
But that was I actually went out and looked at that. It was just amazing to see how that. They're very lucky.
Now,
Count your blessings.
That style boat held up great. I give it to the boat.
Yeah,
it was 87 feet.
Yes, he went
in the shoreline and went into the wood line. And you have to be traveling to make that kind of distance into the wood line.
Right,
87 feet.
That's just it's amazes me. So one of the other things that I want to get to, first off, you guys do such a great job. I really appreciate the working relationship on all the agencies that work these. And normally when we have an accident with a boat in the lake or somewhere, usually all hands are on deck. I know we work real well with Ascension, Tangipahoa, and St. John, and you guys, of course. But one of the things that I know we have, you have so many different things that are going on in the river. One of the other events that's just a daily event sometimes, especially in the summertime, is these kids on the sandbars.
Yes.
They like to congregate there, have their parties and that kind of stuff. And that's not really that doesn't really cause an issue for us at all. We want people to enjoy it. Is there anything that y'all have seen over the years that we could, that they need to be a little more cautious on when they hit them sandbars?
Yes, for one, know your depth of the water there. Yeah. Don't climb up on top of something and dive off in waist deep water. Mm-hmm. We had plenty of broken necks.
Don't feed the alligators.
Don't feed the alligators. Yes, definitely.
Don't throw your bottles in the water.
Don't throw your bottles in the water.
Well, we have to do a better job with litter itself. We did an episode on that, and hopefully we can work really hard. Lieutenant Governor's trying to do it best he can, but yes, don't throw your trash in the water, please.
And a lot of people, your rescuers, the style of boats that we have to respond in, there's sometimes that we can't get in close. To be able to get to you, we literally have to get in the water and go to you. But
right.
One of the things too is, and I see this over the years is I call it that, lack of a better term, that liquid courage.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks they're an Olympic swimmer.
Yeah.
And Amy River may not look that wide right here, but unless you know what you're doing and you get in that water, you start swimming. Yeah, you swim over there. Now you got to swim back.
Yeah.
And what happens a lot of times, they swim over there, and on the way back, they get tired, and that's where the drownings happen. Mm-hmm. One of the accidents, like in 2022, when we had that bad year, a couple of the drownings were attributed to impaired people, jumped off the boat, and they went down and just never came back up. And when you jump in the water, and this is not a per se boat accident, but what happens is when you jump in the water, we have black water down here. We don't have clear water like on the coast, stuff like so. You get confused. You don't know up from down, and you're going to follow your head, and your instinct is to follow your head. If your head's pointed down, you're going to go down. Mm-hmm. So I always tell people the way we were trained: follow the bubbles. Put your
hand over your head.
Go, And so you gotta. Look, we want people to come out and have a good time, but
use a little
bit of common sense, and think about what you're doing,
Well, they have to be familiar with what they're going to be doing,
Yes,
and I know that for us, we have a rescue swimmer in all of our boats. I'm sure you guys have rescue swimmers too, as far as wildlife.
Yes.
So I know we have a lot of things that we put on the water to try to to serve and protect our public. But it's still a huge responsibility of the person that's going to be operating that boat. Yes. I mean, you're responsible not only for your vessel and yourself, but you're also responsible for every passenger on that boat.
Yes.
Well, they have, their I think say seatbelt. Well, they have their life vest on. They're this. You're responsible for that. Right. And the Amy River. From when I was a kid, I was always in fear of that water, that current in Amy River. I think we've lost more people on that river, if I had to guess, than probably most of them because of the undercurrents. And that's just to me, is a very dangerous waterway when you get in the water. Yes, even for people that, hey, I'm a rescue swimmer. You never know when that current is going to suck you under.
And you get hung up under something up there,
a log or some type of debris, and you're done. You can't get out of that. And we've recovered many bodies like that.
Yep.
Under that was lodged under a piece of equipment, debris, and. Yeah. Because they got sucked under there.
Exactly.
Yeah, go to the train trestle in Denham and jump off. Just never come back up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a dangerous world. We just want people to look, you there listening, we just want you to we want you to enjoy it, number one, and have fun. What better opportunity to have than bringing your kids on the water, pulling them behind a boat, and there's so many memories that are made, but it just takes one little incident. Yeah, and it's a memory of a lifetime that you don't want to have. And so with that, the community has to work with us. And y'all, one more question. Do y'all, wildlife fishery, I know y'all used to, and I think you still do, offer some type of boating safety classes?
Yes, sir. Under the law, anybody that was born after 1984 has to take a boat education class. That's to operate a boat. And those are free. You can do it online. I think there's a little charge at the end to take the test, but we recommend that you take it in person.
You get more out of it.
You get more out of it. But yes, it's we offer them throughout the state. They can actually go to our website and look under boat education class, and it has the classes listed. And they're free to sign up for. It doesn't cost you anything. It's about an 8-hour class. And we absolutely encourage everybody to take one. Of course, it's the law to be able to operate a vessel.
Yeah, and you know, it's really good to push your kids to do that.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Sir.
You want them to understand boat safety
Yes.
and how dangerous it can be, but just a lot of common knowledge on those courses that would really help you. And look, put gas in your boat before you get out there.
Yeah,
and
just because you put 30 gallons of gas in it, don't mean you can go ride all day.
Yeah. Right, and you know, be cautious of those kind of things, and you have to maintenance your boats, and it's just a lot of stuff to be responsible. But the main thing is, we want to make sure that you have fun and you be responsible is one of the biggest things for us. So
yes, and another thing, Sheriff, me and Randy was talking about earlier. People, yes, you don't have to have a driver's license to drive a boat, but if you get a DWI on the road, water, wherever, and your license is suspended, you cannot drive a boat.
Right.
They don't realize that, but
there's a lot of stuff they don't realize. You just look. The biggest thing is educating yourself before you venture off into a boat. I mean, that's it's no different than just saying, hey, you know what, I'm just going to buy me a truck tomorrow and I'm going to start driving for the first time. You're going to probably have an accident if you don't understand what a stop sign is and, you know, what a buoy is on the water. You need to stay to the left of it or to the right. Those little things that really you need to find out and understand because it'll keep you from having accidents.
In our early years, we had smaller boats. Mm-hmm. Now you can go buy a 40-foot boat with 4 or 5 motors on it and put it in the water and take off.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The boats I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
The boats are bigger and faster, and I would like to say that there is an actual set of rules, and we call them rules of the road for vessels, navigation rules of the road for vessels that you have to adhere to when you're driving a boat, and it's different. It's similar to being on the state or the right side of the river, stuff like that. But there's other things like you can pass the boat on the right or the left. There's certain things you have to do. You have to understand what a stand-on vessel means, who has the right-of-way.
Right.
Because that's when, you know, when these crashes happen, we start looking at that stuff. That's the stuff we start looking at. Capacities on boats, power on boats. Hey, if this boat's overpowered, were you at capacity? I think we talked about it earlier. You know, you have to look at your boat. There's a Coast Guard plate on there. It tells you what the capacity, and it's not necessarily, yes, it has a weight on it, but like these party barges, I got these pontoon boats. Yeah, they can hold a big load. It's not about the weight on these party barges. It's about the seating.
Yes.
It's about the safe seating. Mm-hmm. If it's supposed to have 6 people and you put 12 on there, you don't have safe seating for 12 people.
Right.
And things like that. So that's where you have to, you know, like riding on decks again. Well, I had this weekend. These kids, you see these people riding with their kids sitting on the bow of the boat with their feet hanging over. Yeah. That is absolutely illegal. That you will get stopped in a heartbeat for that. You know? And because bad things happen from that.
You know, it's something else that they don't. Mother Nature.
Yes.
Is Mother Nature. She always will be.
Correct.
And you can go across that Lake Marpole and head over to the Man Shack and be beautiful. Yep. I'm telling you, just great. And look, and on the way back, if you hit it just right, it's probably the prettiest sunset you ever see on Lake Marpole.
That's right. But it could be the worst.
It could be the worst. And if you have too many people on a party barge, I can tell you from experience, those waves start getting in there and capsize. You better be careful having too much weight on the front end because it's coming in that boat. Now, you may not sink, but it's definitely going to wake you up.
Oh, yeah.
And so it just, you got to be careful because, again, you may be perfectly fine. And 3 hours later, you head back, and all of a sudden, like, what happened? It's Mother Nature. Exactly. You never know which way the wind's going to blow. Although it says it's going blowing east, it's going to turn around and blow west.
Right. And Lake Marpole is probably one of the worst lakes to kick up fast as far as the waves ain't spread out.
Yeah, so. And you can't predict it. I don't care what the news people say. But because I have been betting money that it was going to be rough and it's slick, and then you bet money it's going to be slick and it's rough. So Well, look, guys, I appreciate y'all being here. We have a lot of boats on the water. We have a lot of equipment out there. We even working on a substation right across from Boopaloo's in Springfield. I know people are at, when are you going to finish it? Well, we're trying to get the money to finish it, and we just going through the logistics. But it's we do have a boat lift there. We're able to operate out of it, and I know Wildlife Fishery uses it, fire department as well as Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office. So hopefully we'll get that project finished soon. We are working on it. And I just commend you guys for what you do every day. You guys work hard. Thank you for coming here and sharing the information with our listeners, because, again, we want you to have fun and enjoy the beautiful waterways of Livingston Parish. For that, in Louisiana, I mean, this goes anywhere. And just be safe, be careful, and be cautious, and just understand what you're doing. If you're going to get on a boat and decide you're going to take your family out for a weekend, wear your life vest, do the things that that need to be done, and enjoy yourself. So with that, look, guys, again, thank you, Ronnie, Randy, for coming here today and being a part of the program. And so that'll wrap it up for today's podcast. And again, I greatly appreciate the Marine guys coming out and sharing everything. So to all of you listening, download our app if you hadn't done so. Follow us on social media. And just, again, thank you for being here, Randy and, and Ronnie. And in Livingston Parish, we love our schools, we love our churches, and we absolutely believe in the Second Amendment. Be safe and be blessed.